Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Josh Conker's winless championship was an impressive feat, especially up against the multi-time champion of Bradley Holly, hot on his heels all the way to the finish. But it's time for all of the drivers to buckle in and do it all over again. Much like last season began with some tricky and unusual circuits, Pocono will be a big test right off the bat as we get ready to watch round one of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. Often called the tricky triangle because of the frustratingly different corners, Pocono is either loved or hated by drivers. Let's head to our track guide to learn more.
Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania is probably one of the most unique oval tracks in the country and has a long and storied history of racing. Opening in 1971, they wanted this place to be different, so why not make it have 3 turns? That's right, a triangle. But isosceles triangles are boring, so let's model each turn differently with different radiuses and banking. So around here, you have this incredibly long front straight, known as the Long Pond Straight, 3,740 feet long and 100 feet wide. It's known for the incredible fanning out that happens in starts and restarts, but you have to get it sorted before you get to turn 1. Turn 1 is banked at 14 degrees, modeled after the old Trenton Speedway. It gets tight quick, and you need to pick the right line to be fast here. Your lap depends on it. Turn 2 is banked at 9 degrees and inspired by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's fast and quick, and if you hear somebody refer to the tunnel turn during the race, it's turn 2 they were talking about, with the tunnel to the infield running underneath. Turn 3 is only banked at 6 degrees, and it's modeled after Milwaukee. It's long and sweeping, almost feels like it won't end before you jump back onto that truly endless front stretch. Pocono is most known for stock car racing, but it was originally designed for open wheel racing, and USAC Kart and IndyCar all had tenures here. Today we race on the new version of Pocono and iRacing. With its repaved track surface and redone interior walls, it's as fast and tight as ever, and we'll be sure to put the tricky in tricky triangle.
Well, Chris, this is quite a doozy to kick things off at. I certainly feel like it's going to put the drivers to the test.
Yeah, talk about throwing a monkey wrench into things to start the season. This track is technically considered an oval, but it's actually triangular shaped, as you can see on the screen there. It's going to be basically a race to compromise. Usually these drivers can get 2 out of the 3 corners right, but there's usually one that's going to throw a monkey wrench into things and make things a little bit difficult. Also, look for turn 3 and down that long straightaway to be a big passing opportunity. If somebody goofs up turn 3, then they're pretty much boned for the entire straightaway going into turn 1.
Yeah, it was about that exit here. And before we get to watch the drivers tackle that in anger, let's talk about our sponsors, because our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net.
The PRL Truck Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. As we take a glance at how last season has left things, pulling up the overall points for the season. And it is Bradley Holly, about 43 points ahead of Abner Acosta. Now, again, why these are important is because they have an overall championship, not just for each season. So these carry over from season to season, and that will include a chase at the end. So a lot to fight for. Important to be consistent over the course of the whole year. Sink, Knight, and Chatley rounding out those top 5. And let's take a look at how the teams are as well after that.
Yep, our overall teams championship for the year has the Whataback Overdrive Racing team with a very healthy advantage over the Back Row Racing team. They're kind of on an island there with Car Ramrod in 3rd, then 10 points back to Whataback Next Level Racing. Then West Coast Racing hanging back there in 5th as well.
And of course, race details for today's event. As we mentioned, this is the season opener. It is a 45-lap race. It takes a long time to get around here, so not doing too many. They also don't have a spare vehicle waiting for them in pit lane if they get damaged, which is easy to do at this place with how tough it is to try and wheel these trucks around here. The good news is they don't have to worry about the setup. It is a fixed setup in the series. The bad news to that is if you don't like how it handles around here, then you just got to deal with it. 24 incident limit, which is a strict limit. You will be disqualified if you hit that. We'll keep everybody in line. Right now, we're letting the last of the warm-up finish out. I'm seeing a lot of practicing with those pit parties lining up on the backstretch and getting everybody used to going here today. I have a feeling that running in a pack is going to be ultra important to getting used to.
That is for sure, Joe. This is a big, fast track. I mean, it's 2.5 miles in length, similar in length to Daytona. Obviously, it races quite a bit different, but still the draft down these 3 long straightaways are really going to play a huge role.
You're already seeing some examples there on screen of the drivers having trouble through the first corner, just wheeling these trucks around and not losing control of them as things go on. Let's not forget that there are some bonus points as well that are up for grabs in this championship. 2 for the pole, as well as for 1 for fastest lap, 1 for most laps led, and 1 for leading a lap. So the drivers do have some incentives to do well besides simply winning this race. And we've seen it come down to those bonus points. It was a mere 4 points difference between our top 2 at the end of the championship last season.
That's right. There is just so many opportunities where there's just little bits of points here and there available. And as we saw at the end of last season, it makes a huge difference.
Taking a look at Austin Hunter's onboard, digging those headphones that he's got, or headset that he's got on. It looks like it's lighting up in sync with something. I'm not sure if that might be his accelerator. It could be, because now it's lit up once again, and it wasn't on when he was in the corner. Yeah, I think that is pretty cool. I have never seen that before. That is a neat little use of what iRacing can do.
You know, I'm digging the, hey, that's one way to make it to pit road here.
might have gotten him a speeding penalty if that was in the race, though, but at least he would have kept the truck whole, which is going to be very important. Speaking of doing something wrong and getting a penalty, we got a few drivers that'll have one even before the race starts here today. End of line, which means they are not going to be allowed to qualify and have to start at the back of the field. Adam Young, Baron Hilton, Nick Hunter, and John LaBaff have penalties carrying over from last season. So look out for them to not take to the track once we get into qualifying, which will start in just about a minute's time here today. Keep an eye on some of the road course masters as well, Chris. We know Abner Acosta is a known hot shoe in that realm. I wonder if he can carry over some of the momentum that he started to have at the end of last season.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. You know, back before Charlotte had its own roval, Darrell Waltrip would refer to this track as a roval. It's a road course with nothing but left turns. And this track races pretty distinctly with all those different corners. So definitely the road course experience, I think, can play a role here.
I like that description. So that should be fun to watch for Abner at least. And how about, we've been seeing Charles Sumner in both the GT4 AM series and the GT3 AM series that PRL hosts. And the 98 is, of course, back in his traditional oval racing, but he is a little bit higher up than I think we typically see him. And, well, maybe that road course experience that he got earlier this week is actually paying dividends for the number 98, running in 6th on the timing sheets in the warm-up. As he has a little fun there at the end with the checkered flag coming out. And now the drivers will get 2 laps to try and set a fast one. But the 5 minutes that we normally have, it takes, what, about 55 seconds to get around here, Chris? They can't really dilly-dally.
No, we're probably going to see an old California land rush to get things started here, just because it takes so long on the outlap here to get around.
Yeah, I'm seeing Lawrence already out there. I see Curtis Young on track as well. In fact, I think Curtis Young is going to be the first one to be able to set a lap if he keeps this pace up. In the number 94, you can see him heading down the long backstretch into Indianapolis. The 90-degree corner on the backstretch, meant to mimic the Hoosier State's signature circuit. So now back out of the final turn, out of turn 3, onto the front stretch, looking to try and get that slingshot.
Yeah, there's just so much on throttle time here, Joe. I mean, you are just, and if you mess up one little part of this track, I mean, your lap is a throwaway. So these guys have to be precise when they're running these qualifying laps, because one little mistake and you're all kinds of screwed up.
So far, looking good. In fact, he didn't look squirrely at all coming off of that first corner onto the backstretch. Just nice and smooth, which is what I'm sure he's hoping for, not having to wheel this thing around. Now, what about into this corner? Is it just as tidy? Looks pretty decent. So it's behaving for the number 94, at least at this stage, and that's pretty impressive considering the weather conditions they're dealing with. It's 121 Fahrenheit on the pavement.
Yeah, that's a hot track, and that can make for greasy conditions out there. So being able to hold a pretty wheel like that is very impressive.
55.7 is our first marker, waiting to see what everybody else brings to the table. He's jumped by Josh Daniels and Doyle Lawrence up at the top. Still a number of them that have yet to set a time. Jess Vaught also managing third, bumping Curtis down onto the outside of the second row. Let's see, do we have anybody yet to take to the track? Looks like only our 4 that we said can't set a time are the only ones that aren't out there right now. So everybody else is going to try and put one on the timing sheets. Doug Evans now your provisional pole sitter. Watching Sumner cross the line, 55.4 for his first timed lap. That'll be good enough for 4th place. Bradley Holly is well to the line just now in the 184. And so that was actually his out lap. So he's just going to have enough time to get around for his 2 flyers, but it's going to be tight.
You see our defending champion Josh Conker goes to the top of the charts. Pretty fast 55.185.
Ooh, and Abner Acosta only 0.003 of a second behind him. Thomas Roberts now coming through. And looks like he doesn't set a time there, so he might also be starting his first flying lap unless he touched the wall. We missed it. Cervantes, second time, not quicker, unfortunately.
And look at that, Abner now up to the top of the charts, 55.164.
Wow. Conker has a chance to respond as we watch Sumner. Sumner doesn't go faster, and Conker abandons. He's not happy with this second lap, so he'll settle for at best second, and that becomes third as Holly goes up into P2. So it's familiar names up towards the top of the tower, but it's a bit eyebrow raising to see who finishes where. Elliott White not going to take a second lap as well. Number of drivers just feeling like the first lap is the one to go with.
And that's strange, too, because we've seen a lot of guys go faster on that second lap.
So Clayton Curry also going to abandon. James Durr next to the line. He's yet to set a time. 56.1 there for that one. As we look at Blackhall as well, up to 6th and stays in 6th. Sinks on the outside of the second row. And he'll stay in that spot as well. Yeah, not many drivers able to go faster.
Yeah, that's pretty strange because in the early parts of this session, we did see the second lap be the quick lap for a couple drivers, including our pole sitter.
But that's going to be it. They ran out of time to go any quicker, so down through the starting order, Abner Acosta gets himself 2 bonus points with a pole position. Bradley Holly will to him. Josh Conker will be 3rd, and Thomas Sink in P4. Then you've got Doug Evans in 5th, followed by Jake Blackhall in P6. Danny Cervantes, great lap in 7th, and Charles Sumner as well on the outside of the 4th row. Daniel Ferguson starts P9. Elliott White, unusually low for him, in 10th. Adam Zemke will be next.
Yep, and in the 12th spot, it's going to be Austin Hunter in the 312 with Stacy Hunter inside of row 7. Jim Westerfield will be to the outside with Jess Vaught and Josh Daniels in row number 8. Doyle Lawrence and Colton Lane making up row 9. Then Adam Shane and Curtis Young completing the top 20.
Josh Bittner will be in 21st as Danik Momi starts in P22. Joao Guerra is 23rd. Clayton Curry, only 1 lap, and he'll start from 24th as Patrick Cowgill will be 25th. Dalton Geyer starts in P26. Then you've got Dustin Smith in the 27th spot. A fresh face that I don't think we've seen in this series, CM Pennington in P28. Thomas Roberts 29th, and David Mayberry in 30th.
And just outside of the top 30 is Kelly Cool in 31st with James Durr in 32nd. Then we have our non-qualifiers, Mark Kalin, Adam Young, Baron Hilton, John LaBaff, Nicholas Hunter, Eric Hawk, and Ryan Traver.
As the last of the trucks find their way out to the grid, we should see that pace truck take off any moment. Let's look at our onboards while we have the opportunity today. Bradley Holly going to be your first one with a different shirt. He's switching up his lucky shirt and is trying from the front row here with the American flag, Old Glory emblazed upon himself. Austin Hunter also with us, starting from the 12th position here today. We already had a glance at him and his very cool headset that I definitely would like to ask him about after the race if we get an opportunity. And then finally, we have Patrick Cowgill joining us this evening in the number 31. He starts from 25th position. And there you can see his traditional setup, not nearly as fancy as some of the others, but you know what? He still gives us some great reaction shots here with his onboard. It's only 3 today, and already we are heading into Indianapolis with the front of the field.
You know, just think of how much fun it would have been if instead of IMS, they modeled it after Indianapolis Raceway Park.
Be a much tighter corner, and it'd be strange to see the high line be only the only line in one turn around here.
Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me too much to have another weird corner added to Pocono.
So we wait for the green flag to come out, which should be relatively quickly. Pace truck will peel in, and typically we see the drivers get the green flag within seconds. So here it goes. Pace truck is in, and green flag is already out as they start to accelerate. Abner Acosta doesn't have the greatest of jumps over Bradley Holly. Might get a little bit of a push. This is not exactly a Talladega-style track, even though it has this long stretch. He's going to want to get that P1 locked down. And up on the high side, the 184 starts to fall back as Josh Conker is to his inside. He might snatch that P2 up.
And you can tell that was a pretty tidy beginning of the race start, because normally here at Pocono, we'll see him fan out 3-4 wide before condensing back down, going into turn 1.
Looks like he's not going to be able to get second, but Conker does settle into third. It's Thomas Sink still side by side with Doug Evans, who finally gives up the ghost there. He solidifies 5th place already. Pretty single file through much of the field. You have to go back to Stacy Hunter before you get some side-by-side battles. Josh Daniels to his outside. He's going to take that P14.
So far, this has been a pretty well-organized opening lap to this race here at Pocono. You can see Abner running a little bit lower, trying to break the draft already, as we have it on board here, looking at the postal delivery truck in front of him. That's Daniel Ferguson we're on board with.
Chasing down Danny Cervantes for P7. He's a little ways away, though, and Charles Sumner's creeping up behind. We can't see it from this angle, but the 98 looks like he wants to move back forward after starting this one position up from where he was. In fact, he's already sneaking to the inside of the 16. Let's see if he can get the job done into Milwaukee, and he does it.
You know, if you had told me one of my favorite paint schemes this season was going to be a Tropicana orange juice truck, I would have said you were crazy. But that is a sharp-looking paint scheme on the 98.
Go watch the PRL GT4 AM and GT3 AM races that he raced in. He translated it to a Porsche in both cases, and it looks fantastic. So, yeah, we're big fans here on GSRC of the way that Sumner has done up his car. Side-by-side action between one of our onboards, the 31 of Patrick Cowgill and Danik Momi, back there fighting for 21st.
Yeah, quite a few new names we have on the roster this season, Joe.
Yeah, I'm glad to see some fresh faces show up here. I think this is the fight I was mentioning just a little bit earlier. Momi to the inside in the number 12. Often tough to try and make it stick around the outside of turn 3, but Guerra's got the grip, and he is going to outgun him.
Yeah, turn 3, in my opinion, is the most important turn here at Pocono of the 3. I mean, it sets you up for this huge, long straightaway, and it can make or break your next lap just by how you handle turn 3.
So now they're trying to chase down the 65 of Shane there in front of the 31, but he's boxed in because up to the high side, that's Stacy Hunter in the 71. The ride in shotguns, traditional wood paneling on the side of the car as they plunge into Indianapolis once again. Falls back, but gets the shot on the exit. Down into 3, going to try it again.
You can see a couple battles there a little bit further back through the field, Joe. I mean, they're racing really tight here. This is not...
Oh, 3 wide, and they're going to come together.
Yep.
The 71 sent with a big hit, and that is one car tumbling around. I'm trying to see who that was that seems to have taken one of the worst wrecks we've seen in a while. Joao Guerra, unfortunately, the wrong place at the wrong time in the 519, was trying to avoid the 71 and just got smashed into the pit barrier.
Yeah, Joe, I was getting ready to say this doesn't normally work out coming out of that turn, and well, it proved it right before I could even say it.
We're going to watch the ride that the Canadian takes. He wasn't initially involved, and he tried to get away from it, and then that 71 was going down, and I think he actually maybe got sent into the ether out of the bounds of the track. Stacy Hunter, also one of those. In fact, he was the one that went across Guerra.
I believe he's now in the upside down.
Well, let's hope that the Debigorgs don't get him. We've still got a lot of laps to go. We're only on lap 6. Acosta still your leader with Bradley Hawley in second, Josh Conker third, Sink fourth, and Evans fifth. Really no change since the opening lap amongst those drivers. Very early for a pit stop, but we're going to come around and see if anybody takes it here, Chris. If you're amongst maybe, let's say, in a tough situation, let's say the mid-pack, what'd be your call?
Being this early, I might still hold off. I mean, maybe if this race had the feeling that it was going to go green for a long while, I might consider maybe getting some tires and a splash of fuel just to get a little bit off sequence with everybody else. But I don't know. It's still pretty early.
Yeah. Well, and let's not forget the importance of track position here as well as the tires. Which one is going to be more important? What will the crossover be on that? And are there any takers? Don't have to come down into the little pit entry lane there. They can wait until right here to take their stops. And wow. Well, oh, I was going to say, see, I was fooled. A lot of them made me think they were actually going to take it. Elliott White is. Westerfield is in. Looks like Colton Lane. And a few others. Bittner, Shane, Cowgill.
Now that is a beautiful paint scheme. It makes me want to stand next to a Camaro.
I want to know what the controversy is for hashtag MulletGate. Is that for Connor Daly disapproving of Connor Daly's haircut?
I believe they can only tell you if you are in a parking garage late at night outside of view of cameras.
I thought you were going to say that if I was next to one of those road runners, the old 70s NASCAR,
yeah, with the accelerator pedal shaped like a foot.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of not takers in the pits, a lot of takers in the pits, but the first of them out is Elliott White. Took 2 tires. I see one gambler on 2. That's Kelly Cool in the number 1. Everybody else took all 4. I think at least 1 or 2 that took repairs on damage having been involved in that incident.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how this ends up working out. Elliott White is very fast normally, and just to see how it plays out taking the taking the pit stop this early, I should say. I've got a lot of questions, and I'm excited to see how they turn out.
So Mark Kalin saying that he managed to avoid getting damage in that incident because apparently he had a little bit of involvement in it. All right, we go too wide now. This is the downside to a track of this length. It does take some time to do the pace laps, even at over 70 miles an hour, trying to wheel around here behind that pace truck. But again, no change from what we saw earlier. Acosta, Hawley, Conker, Sink, Evans, your top 5 on the restart.
You know, you brought up the point about Abner Acosta's road racing background, and you know, it's something I hadn't really put much thought to, Joe, before we came into this race. But you're right, this is such a tricky track, and not to mention, as we closed out last season, Abner was on a huge roll between the trucks and the Cup Series. So, looks like the momentum so far carrying over for him.
Indeed. Yeah, I believe 3 wins towards the end of last season. I'm double checking that. Across 2 series, I should say, as he does compete in both the PRL Cup and PRL Trucks on Sunday and tonight on Wednesdays, respectively. But Acosta took one of the wins here in the trucks at the road course, but he has not taken one on the ovals yet. This seems like as good a place as any for him to finally pop that cherry. So we come around out of turn 3. Let's see if he can get a good start and keep Hawley behind him. Last time it was very close, but he also had to go on green as per the rules on the starts here in PRL. But now he gets to decide. So does he try and really time it? Pace truck is in. Yeah, he went pretty early. As quick as that timing is, that caught out Bradley Hawley, and he's falling behind potentially the 54 of Conker.
That is not an easy thing to do, is catch Bradley Hawley out on a restart, but Abner has been able to do that and open the door for Josh Conker to get back by.
Conker into second for the first time in this race. Could we see an over-under? Hawley gets a little bit more speed as they fly down the back stretch to the inside. That is Cervantes who's dropping behind. He tried to have a go at Jake Blackhall, one of our newcomers. Down into the corner, not enough straightaway for Bradley Hawley, stays back in third.
You know, Josh Conker, the rare position of having more championships than he has wins in the PRL Truck Series, and I'm sure he would like to even those numbers here today.
Yeah, different motivations here up at the front. Bradley Hawley wanting redemption after missing out by 4 points at the end of last season. As we watch his onboard, it's back by about 0.2 of a second, but certainly not dire stages. We are getting close to the quarter mark of this race, and my goodness, we didn't see it on screen, but behind him, Sink and the 41 of Evans nearly made contact into the first corner. The 41 is not afraid to put the bumper to the car ahead.
No, I'm wondering, Joe, maybe Brad changed his shirt because he didn't win the championship last season.
Could be. That's a fair point. Maybe the luck is worn out on that one, and it's time to start a new tradition here. We'll keep an eye on it next race and see if it comes back down into the corner once again, into turn 3. And Acosta is currently controlling the race, not by wide margins, but with a handy gap at least.
Yeah, definitely doing a great job up front is Acosta, but Josh Conker's keeping him honest, not letting him get too far away and able to stay in his wake.
Let's head back to the 84 of Josh Bittner. Remember, we said Elliott White was the highest up to have taken tires. Well, Bittner is now already past him. He's in the 19th and making the best inroads. In the background, you can see quite a bit of side-by-side action between those trucks with new tires and those with not. But Elliott White going to be able to get a run on CM Pennington. And Bittner, well, that explains why he's up as high as he is. As his banner explains, he's just going to send it.
Well, that is one strategy. And talking about CM Pennington, you don't think the CM stands for C. Montgomery, do you?
I hadn't thought of that. I thought you were going to make some other sort of joke, but that caught me off guard. As, wow, Bittner is flying now. He's actually going to take it 3 wide. And we're watching White behind the car of Pennington. As there's the 3 wide situation. Bittner going to be able to get past all of them into 16th place. That's Dustin Smith on the way high side. Danik Momi trying to challenge Clayton Curry. And it looks like Curry's going to come out ahead between the two who are on older tires.
That front straightaway is, it's almost like a giant game of chicken. You can run 3 wide like that down the straightaway, but eventually when you get to the end, you have to turn and somebody's got to back out of it.
Conker's starting to reel in Acosta a little bit, and so is Holly, tightening up the gap. Are they going to size him up and try and overtake, or will this be a case of saving fuel?
Josh Conker has had moments of aggression early on in the races that sometimes comes back to bite him. So it wouldn't surprise me if maybe he's trying to calm down a little bit and maybe just bide his time so he can try to get that first victory.
Yeah, never know. They are pulling along Thomas Sink as well as they gap Doug Evans in 4th. Oh, we got another caution. And it looks like Patrick Cowgill? Yeah, Patrick Cowgill involved in this one.
Oh, yeah, he's obliterated the front end on that one.
He's going to have a little contact with CM Pennington. And, oh, wow, he squeaked by on the second stage of that incident as the 31 was trying to catch it. Let's take a look at Roberts behind it, watching it unfold. Starts to see the smoke, sees the truck swing back around, and it bounces right into his path.
Yeah, at that point, you can only guess where the truck that's ricocheting across the track is going to end up. Unfortunately, he guessed wrong.
Wow, and that is a real shame. But unfortunately, the nature of oval racing, sometimes you just get caught up in other people's incidents.
Yeah, and you're carrying so much speed around this track. I mean, it's a big, wide track, but you only have so much time to react when somebody's literally spinning across the track in front of you.
Okay, so now we're farther in. Let's see, Bittner, our highest driver to have pitted in the last caution. He's up to 16th, much farther up than Elliott White. He only made it to 20th after that pit. Demoted shockingly few trucks that time through. So will we now see more drivers take to the pits now that we're getting closer to halfway? Or after seeing what happened with the last group on that run, will they think that it is important to simple track position?
I think at this point we're going to see more people head to pit road. I think we might be reaching the point where it might be of advantage, and maybe everyone's going to be a giant faker right here like last time. No, they are actually coming in.
Okay. And it appears almost everyone but Ferguson, he's going to take a gamble. And I see Adam Young staying out, but he already had a stop. Trying to get my timing and scoring sorted out as I see which trucks stayed out. So did Kalen. Also took a pit stop last caution. Cool did as well. Hunter, Baron Hilton, trying to get themselves some clear space. Remember, Hilton, one of those, Hilton and Hunter, 2 drivers that had a EOL, so they want to try and finally experience an open track. As off of the pits, looks like Austin Hunter is the first out. Well, no, Hunter he missed his pit stall. So did CM Pennington. It will be Abner Acosta the first to return to the circuit.
That is a very interesting turn of events, and probably not what Mr. Hunter wanted for this one.
Sink got jumped by Bradley Hawley in that sequence. So he'll be third among those who just pitted this time, but he'll restart in 12th. Let's see, trying to see if anybody took 2 tires on this one. No, nobody took 2 tires amongst that group. So the only driver really giving that a go is still Kelly Cool, who is up in 4th. Let's see if the number 1 can hold on to it as the race progresses. That could be, well, honestly, the people who didn't come in this time might find themselves at a bit of difficulty if this does go green for long here, Chris.
It's definitely a gamble. I think they're expecting there to be more cautions in this one in the near future, but we'll see what happens. It's like I said, it's a roll of the dice, and it's either going to work out great or go horribly wrong.
So Austin Hunter's going to come back in. So is CM Pennington after that mistake. 1 driver without tires, and he stays out. Daniel Ferguson, after 16 laps, going to be 17 when we go back to green, having put those boots under abuse, but some of it has been under caution. So it's not all 17 laps that they've been beaten and banged on. What are they going to be like up against guys like Adam Young, Kalen Cool, Nick Hunter, Aaron Hilton, and Josh Conker?
Well, it's the same play with different actors. It's going to be definitely a different dynamic with drivers on alternate strategy up front, and it's definitely going to see how Abner Acosta handles things, having to negotiate some traffic after having clean air the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much everybody up at the front is going to have to deal with a whole lot more dirty air buffeting in front of them. I know this is fixed setup, and you know, I actually haven't been able to talk to the drivers and find out, but typically how much downforce do they crank into these things at this place?
It's got to be a fairly significant amount. I mean, you have 2 basically flat corners to contend with. You have the banked turn 1, and you have all these straightaways. So, I mean, you want to find a balance, but you got to be able to negotiate the corners, and it's another one of those compromise things where usually there's at least one corner where somebody's given something up.
And it looks like they're going to extend the caution, so we're going to get 1 more lap under yellow. They're giving an EOL to Joao Guerra. And, so what has happened here, if you'll notice that Joao's car is in much better condition than it was before, there was a clerical error, and the drivers do have access to a free repair, but they are not supposed to use it. So the 519 has been given an EOL because of that, but looks like he's allowed to race.
Well, it seems like a pretty fair compromise for a small error on behalf of the series. So, unfortunately for Mr. Guerra, it's going to be a tough road to hoe here for the next few laps.
It would have been a lot tougher if he had to use the car the way it was, if he didn't have that free repair. So I think he'll take it. I think he'll be happy to just keep running. Unfortunately, those who did respect the don't use the free repair rule are going to have a much worse day. Ryan Traver's gone. Patrick Cowgill is out. We still have some who have been taking extensive repairs, and that includes Stacy Hunter and Thomas Roberts. Looks like Eric Hawk also just finally took it behind the wall and put the garage door down, so he is done.
You know, one thing I like about the caution laps here, Joe, is gives you plenty of time to do literally anything. These laps are seemingly endless under caution at Pocono.
Anybody who's been on iRacing knows one of those seemingly endless things is people talking on the radio. This is a track I'm always afraid of being under caution if you don't like listening to people jabber away, because boy, do they love to do that here. As the pace truck is in and Ferguson is away. Green flag is out, and despite not taking tires, he's not looking too shabby as the 16 gets himself a gap over Adam Young. Adam, notorious for having bad luck in this series. Now that he's up towards the front, can he make use of the clean air?
And Joe, I was watching on that restart, Abner Acosta, who led everything up to this point, has gotten boxed in behind some cars that got a terrible start. So a tough break for our leader so far. He is not having an easy go of it trying to get back to the front.
And those are all drivers that, even though they didn't take tires this last time, are in somewhat fresher ones than Ferguson is. So won't be the easiest thing to get by. First battle right now is between Nick Hunter and Josh Conker. Josh is the highest to have pitted in this last caution. He gets up to 5th in the number 54.
You know, I was sitting here, Joe, thinking, who's the new guy fighting for second? It's not a new guy. It's Mark Kalin. He's got a purple truck this season.
Yeah, so used to him having that dual green on his car for so many seasons. He's switched it up, but he's doing pretty good. Still celebrating Father's Day, apparently, as he hunts down Adam Young. He gets a good run. He's got just enough space to go to the outside coming down to Indianapolis. Let's see if he can complete the pass now.
Yeah, this is not the easiest corner to be on the outside, so we'll see how it goes for Mark. Actually able to get a bit of an advantage coming off of that second turn.
And he is going to get ahead, so Kalin now up into P2. Conker's still in 5th, but he's caught the back of this trio. His next challenge is going to be going by Kelly Cool, the only one to have taken 2 tires. Oh, and Cool into the wall.
Well, that was part of that thing we've been talking about the whole time, Joe. Turn 3 is a make or break, and you really get deposited off of turn 3 really fast onto the straightaway. Unfortunately for Kelly, did not quite anticipate the wall coming up that quick.
It was very tough to tell from that angle, but I don't think the 54 made contact, but he had centimeters to spare between them. So that moves Conker into 4th.
That was tremendous reaction time for Conker.
Whoa, down to the inside. Here comes Adam Young on Daniel Ferguson, who's already been overtaken by Kalin for the lead. While we were distracted by that incident, Kalin up to the top spot, and here comes Conker. Gets to the inside of Adam Young as well, down into turn 3, but gets pinched to the bottom. Young trying to carry the pace. Is he going to suffer the same fate as Cool? Yes, he is. He gets to the outside wall and scrapes it.
Not nearly as big a hit as what Kelly Cool dealt with, but it's definitely going to slow him down.
And Brad's now also taking advantage of things. He gets to the inside of Conker. 3 wide down into the first corner. They're going to hold on to it. 3 wide around the long left-hander coming onto the backstretch. And it looks like Hawley has a slight edge over the 54 and boxes him in.
This is some very aggressive racing by the 184, looking to capitalize maybe some vulnerable participants up in front of him. And you can see he definitely smells blood in the water. Oh, boy. This is this is getting a little dicey for sure. Caution out.
All the way to the bottom, and that was Guerra again with, Danik Momi, unfortunately, on his lid. This starts with Momi and the 12 machine. He's going to get turned by Dustin Smith, it looks like. Let's watch the replay. Smith is in the 14 that you'll see here. Just turns him and keeps it going. And there's the 12. And poor Joao Guerra, twice in this race, is just coming upon wrecking cars at the exact wrong place. Here's another angle on it to get a better look at the second hit. That was the 519 that ran into him, and I think Guerra now officially done with this race. He got a second shot at life, but it was short-lived.
Yeah, unfortunately, oof. Yeah, unfortunately, when you have a truck basically sitting in your lap, it's usually the end of your day.
See the severe damage on the nose. He called that one quits pretty quickly. And we have just about hit that halfway mark in this race. That was one of our quickest cautions in succession. Do we see... Well, I have to imagine Ferguson has got to come in at this point.
Yeah, I think that decision's basically out of his hands at this point.
Yeah, so will he be a lonely truck? No, he's got a few others thinking about it. Looks like Baron Hilton will pit.
We got a couple big fakers back there, too.
Yeah, Bittner is in. Also see Dustin Smith. So a bunch of the drivers at the back of the field. They're going to try and take a gamble and take some tires. And in fact, seeing a few of them are on 3 stops already. Remember, they are limited to 4 sets of tires, including the one they started on, which means some of them may be on their last set. We'll have to try and check and see. But we have the ability to take a quick break here as we've hit that halfway mark. So let's step away for a moment. We've got more racing yet to come here at Pocono. Stick around for more of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. Welcome back to Pocono Raceway. Round 1 in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series sees Mark Kalin taking our latest restart. We've had a plague of cautions in the first half. Will it be cleaned up in the latter half? Drivers have certainly had a tough time keeping it together, which is not too big of a surprise. So Kalin getting ready for the loud pedal, but he's got to deal with Bradley Holly to his outside. Pace truck is in. Holds him up a little bit, but it actually helps him. Green flag is out of the 62, gets a decent jump over Bradley Holly. Oh no, and that is Adam Young getting loose. They're gonna wreck on the front stretch. Nick Hunter involved. A few scattering. I think they're gonna get away with surprisingly few trucks getting wrecked in that. But this starts with Adam Young. Young unfortunately blew his engine, so that's probably going to be day over for him. He got some help. He's not going to be terribly happy with Abner Acosta. who just touched him. There it is. Right there. That might actually wind up being a penalty for Acosta. Post-race.
That was not good. You know, one other element too, Joe. This is a huge field of drivers, and we have a lot of new faces, as we mentioned. And some of these guys just a little bit unfamiliar racing around each other, and I think that could contribute to some of these cautions. Of course, as I say that, it's two people that have been in this series for a while that caused this most recent one.
Here's Evan's perspective, and the mullet gets a little clipped there.
Not enough business in the front.
Well, he'll continue on. He's in 30th, so he's way down the order. In fact, yeah, he's got some significant repairs, it appears, as he's been in his stall for 30 seconds already. So Kalen stays in the lead. Holly's still in second. Conker behind him. We're playing catch up with the pace car now. Boy, attrition has been gobbling them up. Traver, we mentioned, is gone. Robert's still taking repairs. Hauk, Calgill, we talked about, has exited the race. Stacy Hunter, Adam Shane is out of it. Danik Momi, Dalton Geyer. No, I take that back. Momi's returning to the track after about 8 minutes banging away at it. And we might, well, will we see Nick Hunter come back out? He's on pit lane. Baron Hilton as well as Adam Young, who I expect is done for the day.
You know, this is not what you normally expect out of Pocono. I mean, usually you will have some longer green flag runs, and unfortunately this is a caution-filled event so far.
Yeah, they do have a time limit as well. They have 1 hour to complete all 45 laps. I'm going to check to see what the official timing is on that left, because it might start getting kind of tight here. And they don't have lights out on the pace truck quite yet, so they're going to go around for a whole another time. And doesn't look like the stewards have managed to shorten this pace sequence as they are now able to do on iRacing. So we'll go for a traditional 3-lap caution. So I'm checking my clock here as I got the official one in front of me. We have 24 minutes left to go. If they stay green, that is enough time to get to the end, but they can't have too many more cautions from here. Unfortunately, nobody told the 62 that sniffing exhaust is not good for you.
Well, hopefully it's not a diesel.
Get a lung full of coal there. As we come around, I think we're going to get the one to go this time by. Have we had any hard chargers in this race? I do see Clayton Curry's not doing too shabby. The 82 has gone from 24th to 13th. LaBaff was not allowed to qualify as, where is he? Up 20 spots. Wow. Into 15th.
Kalen's another driver that didn't qualify, but he's up 32 spots.
James Durer up 32. Excuse me, no, he's up 12, I should say. He qualified 32nd. He's in 19th now. So a few have really made good on things, and a few that have fallen victim to the many incidents that we have had. But Kalen clearly utilizing strategy very well here today. Can Bradley Holly use his pace to get by? He's had very few green flag laps to do so. The unfortunate thing, Chris, we've always said, cautions breed cautions. If drivers are getting antsy here at the finish with so many yellows, that might not improve the situation.
Well, I mean, look at that last caution. You could really chalk that up to a little bit of impatience, as much as it was a racing incident. I mean, the laps are winding down, and there's a lot of fast drivers that are mired back in traffic. So impatience is definitely going to rear its ugly head here the deeper we get into this.
Cross your fingers, cross your toes, and cross your eyes that we get some good green flag racing. We're going to restart with 21 minutes to go on lap 29 out of 45. So just a little bit past halfway. In fact, getting a little bit closer to the final quarter of the race even. So maybe a third of the race left to go. Pace truck is in. Once again, a very good jump from Mark Kalin. Bradley Holly was on it this time, and he's going to try and cover off Josh Conker, who's still side by side with Cervantes. No, he's not going to try and cover him off. He's got great speed here. Holly looking to the outside, coming into the first corner, trying to swing the long way around. He's actually got a nose ahead. Can he make this stick?
And it looked like Kalin did not take that corner as well as he could have. It's going to hand the lead over to Holly, taking the long way around, and now finds himself out front in that 184.
I think this is the first time we've seen Holly lead this race. Fresher tires doing him good. Kalin already under threat from Josh Conker, who barely holds onto it underneath him. The 54 getting a small wiggle.
Yeah, Conker all over the 62 now, looking to the inside there. And that's definitely going to be the spot you want to be in heading down that straightaway.
Ooh, but Conker doesn't get a good exit compared to Kalin, who starts to pull away behind him. Cervantes stays in front of Sink, who's trying to get back in line. Oh, and Acosta, he is eager to make moves. He pops out to the inside, manages to get side by side with Sink, but he's still got to complete the pass.
You can tell Abner knows he's got a fast truck, but just got to bide his time a little bit more. He is chomping at the bit and making some pretty aggressive moves.
That exit lost him some time. Sink much faster down the back stretch. Can he set himself up maybe for the front stretch instead? They run down the short chute towards turn 3. Holly continuing to extend the gap over the rest of the field to about 0.5 of a second over Kalin. Conker about 0.3 behind Kalin himself. I'm sure he wants to try and close that down and give chase on the 184 while he's got the opportunity.
Well, you got to strike while the iron's hot.
In fact, Cervantes tried to strike there, but couldn't get side by side with Conker as we watched from on board Kalin. Abner Acosta also not able to make the move. He's on the same strategy as Sink with tires that are about 16 laps old.
Kalin is doing a pretty impressive job with those older tires, though. I mean, there's a lot of really fast trucks out there, and he is definitely holding his own.
Watching from Austin Hunter here. As he runs in the mid-pack, he's going to dip to the inside, see if he could make the move. And it looks like Hunter's not going to be able to carry the speed as the 9 of Lawrence denies him.
Yeah, you know, I cannot get over those headphones, Joe.
I love those. I really hope we get to ask him about them. Meanwhile, Cervantes is on the attack with the 54. Danny managing to get to the inside of Conker, but he can't quite make it stick. That compromises his exit. Sink thinks about it, but then comes back to the racing line.
You know, Cervantes was one of those drivers towards the end of the year, Joe. He really was coming on strong, had a lot of great runs. Ooh, as you see Mark Kalin out of shape big time.
What happened there? Did he hit the inside wall?
I just caught it out of the corner of my eye. He just shot towards the bottom of the track. You can see the right side of his truck is all scraped up.
Yeah, I think he hit the outside. You can see he missed the inside. Great catch, but too little too late. Here's the contact. It was all going so well until it wasn't.
Yeah,
And he's bleeding position, so I think he may be limping.
that is tough for Kalin.
Conker and Cervantes not done with their fight. With losing Mark Kalin, that means that the gap from first to second is now 1.2 seconds. Holly's got a stranglehold on things now.
And as I was was starting to say before Kalen went wide there, Cervantes was coming on real strong at the end of the last season, Joe. He didn't have a lot of great finishes to show for it, but had a lot of really strong runs. And obviously that form is carrying over here today as he battles for second with our defending champion.
This time he does manage to get a nose ahead as they come back into turn one. Conker's gonna let it go and fall back into third. Still haven't seen Abner Acosta start to move up. Looked like he was a lot better, like you mentioned, in clear air.
And he's, I think he's been trying a little bit too hard to make something happen. And it has definitely not done him any favors.
So we're right on board with Abner in that number 5, watching Sink and Conker just in front. Down into turn 3 yet again. He's going to have to hustle. Oh, this looks like a bad exit from Conker. It's washing out wider than he would have liked to. Sink is going to take advantage. He manages to get side by side. Is Acosta going to follow? He's got the run. He could take the opportunity if he wants it. And he does not. And we got a caution. Trying to find it. I think that's Ferguson. Oh, and he was on a bit of a tear with some good tires underneath him, but he just got tipped by Jess Vaught in the 33.
Yeah, 33 Skull Bandit throwback, a really cool looking truck. Unfortunately, not going to look as good after this one.
Yeah, made a little bit of contact with Ferguson, but not the wall. Great escape from Curtis Young in the 94. This is Vaught. They're watching on board. Oh, yeah, just sent it in a little too hot. Curtis Young gets himself into 11th by managing to get by. This is his perspective of the incident. Just got on the brakes with enough time to get it woed up. Waited until it cleared in front of him, and there is a handy 11th place waiting for him.
Yes, hard work does pay off.
Wow, so another yellow. It seems like the tires aren't as meaningful as I would have expected, so I don't know about you, Chris, but I would vote stay out.
I think I'm on board with that. You know, this is the build here is somewhat older than some of the other tracks, and this was pretty recent after the repave, so not incredibly abrasive pavement here, so I guess the tires lasting does kind of make sense.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a smoother version of Pocono. But if you're going to take a last set of tires, now would be the time to do it. Wonder if we'll see any of the drivers in the back give it a go just to see what it nets them. But so far, those that have done it haven't really gotten a lot of payback out of it. Some of them are staying low. Holly making implications that he might go into the pits. And he is. Wow. Well, this shows what I know.
Well, one thing we saw staying out not go horribly for like a Mark Kalin who was up front for a good while. Wonder if maybe somebody could stay out and poach
John
some
LaBath
positions.
The 911 is still out on track. So is Jim Westerfield and David Mayberry. That is it. I don't think anybody else elected to gamble in that fashion. So Abner Acosta is waiting to come out, and not sure that he is going to get a good position. Holly will return to the top spot. Looks like Cervantes. Ooh, now that's interesting. Cervantes came out in second. What happened to the 54? Josh Conker, 2 seconds slow on his pit stop, and he's down in 12th. Did he miss his pit stall, maybe?
I think something had to happen with that. Maybe he had to back up into the stall.
I'm checking, and no, he did not, but it did appear that Sink did. Sink missed his pit stall, so that's why he's down in 8th.
Well, yeah, that'll do it.
All eyes now on the 911, the 35, and the 37. If I'm honest, considering it's only 3 cars and Bradley Holly is the first up, I don't think the strategy is going to work for a win necessarily, but I think they could see maybe a top 10 out of this.
Yeah, with only, what'll be 7 laps by the time we get back to green? 8 laps to go? Yeah, 7 laps to go. I think with that few laps left, you may not win, but it definitely can't hurt.
And let me see, where did LaBaff come from here before the pit stop? He was in 13th or so, it looks like. Yeah, 13th place. So he wasn't coming from very far behind. I think Westerfield and Mayberry were a little bit farther back, though. But LaBaff, this is a bit surprising. He'd take this sort of risk because he could easily go back behind 13th if it doesn't quite work. But nothing risked, nothing gained, I suppose.
Yeah, at this point, what's there to lose? He started 36 and already marched his way up quite a ways through the field. Might as well give it a shot at this point.
He was one of those that had an EOL penalty for the start. Maybe he thinks he's got better pace than where he's been sitting for much of the race. And we're only actually going to have what appears to be 27 trucks restarting out of 39 starters. This has been not a bloodbath, I'd say, but certainly a game that has captured many who will be licking their wounds after today is over. 7 laps to go on the restart, and John LaBaff has control on 16-lap old tires. Westerfield with 15-lap old tires, and Mayberry with 11. Everybody else on fresh rubber. What will this look like? Pace truck getting ready to duck in. There it goes. John LaBaff accelerates away as the green flag is out. He gets a pretty decent jump. Westerfield already looking like he's going to get swallowed up by Holly. No, Holly going to give him a push. He wants to bump draft and see if he can take both of them up to the leader.
Unfortunately, Holly not able to get the slingshot that I think he expected. Westerfield gets loose on the outside. That's going to allow Holly to take over the second spot, and he'll now set his sights on LaBaff up front.
Oh my goodness, this is a monster run, and he's going to dip to the inside. The 184 is side by side with John LaBaff. He's got a nose ahead as they break for the second corner. The job is done. It didn't even take 1 lap, and Bradley Holly is in the lead yet again. Now it's Cervantes and Westerfield behind him. Westerfield, one of those on older tires, Cervantes on fresh ones.
And Cervantes not going to be happy with third. He now challenges the 911 for the runner-up position.
Sink, after his mistake in the pit stops, is already up to P5, looking at 4th side by side, 2 by 2 into the first corner. Is Cervantes going to clear him and go off for Bradley Holly? He is going to get by. Can he try and catch the 184? Sink still working on LaBaff as well. Highest driver to not pit this last caution is holding up fairly decently. He's going to have 5 laps to go. He slips down into 4th this time by. Where is Abner Acosta in all this? Wow, he's down in 8th. Something happened to the number 5 in this latter half of the race. We're on board with him now. That he's not showing the same pace that we saw at the beginning.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Joe, it seems like once he got mired back in the traffic, the dirty air just took away whatever advantage he had, because he was by far the class of the field there in the early going and has not been able to do much since that first pit cycle.
Wow, look at Josh Conker. He now gets into fourth past the slow drivers on old boots. The 911 of LaBaff now into fifth spot. Sink, though, managing to progress through there much quicker than Conker, already about a second ahead of him. LaBaff continuing to plug things up as everybody's scrambling to get by as quick as they can. Austin Hunter is going to be the next one.
And it looked like Abner Acosta had some handling issues there. Almost got into the 35 of Westerfield. Compromised his exit on turn 3, and that opens the door for Charles Sumner.
Down to 4 laps to go. 3 wide back here as Sumner, Acosta, and Bittner are still sorting out what is 8th or 9th position. The 84 of Bittner with a fantastic run. Good enough that he might actually be able to challenge Westerfield. He's going to dip to the inside. Westerfield does not fight back, and he lets him through.
Yeah, at this point, Westerfield, I imagine, is just trying to hold on to whatever he can. He's not too aggressively putting up a fight, but he has a hornet's nest of trucks behind him.
And ahead of this is, wow, the 84 is looking super strong here. He's going to manage to at least get side by side the 911. I'm keeping an eye on Cervantes and Sink in front of them because that's been cut down to 0.2 of a second. Sink does indeed look fast down into turn 1. There goes Bittner into 7th. Now, as we look at 2nd and 3rd place, we watch from Sink's perspective.
And Sink has been just incredibly fast here in the closing stages of this race, and looks like he is trying everything he can to run down that 25.
As the Illinois driver hopes to maybe get himself at least into 2nd. 1st is not looking as doable, though you can see it is about 1 second up to Bradley Hawley, but he's so unflappable usually. I'm not anticipating that we'll see Thomas start to gain. Down to 2 laps to go. Very little time if Thomas wants that P2.
Yeah, he's definitely running out of time to make a move, and it looks like that gap is actually stabilizing a little bit for Danny Cervantes.
Holding him at bay. Cervantes from 7th on the grid. You mentioned it, how last season didn't see a whole lot of great finishes for him. He was 10th in the points at the end of it. Had a podium or 2 along the way. 2 top 5s overall, 4 top 10s out of 10 races over the course of the season. White flag now comes out for Bradley Hawley. Behind him, it's all fights for the lesser positions. Conker included amongst them, as Colton Lane is looking like he might be able to do something.
Colton Lane, we haven't talked about him much today, Joe, but definitely the Mr. Excitement of this series, and he is looking to make a move on Conker for 4th.
Pulling off of turn 1, gets a bit of a shot down the backstretch. Andy's going to have the tow from the truck ahead. Slight bit of defense. Oh, and he's going to run him as far down as he can go. It's the last lap. He wants that position. Ahead of them, Bradley Hawley started it from the front row, but showed that it's not about where you qualify, it's where you finish. Abner Acosta did not have the legs at the end of this race. It was Bradley Hawley who did. A new lucky shirt for the 184 as he takes the win in the opening round of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. Cervantes 2nd, Thomas Sink getting a podium. Conker still looking for that elusive first win, but he will finish in 4th ahead of Lane, rounding out your top 5. Everybody streaming across the line on the lead lap. Only 31 or 30, no, not even that, 28 trucks left to finish this race. there's going to be some repair bills to deal with. As we take a quick break, we'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Pocono. We just watched the first round of the Precision Racing League. And their NASCAR Truck Series had Bradley Holly getting yet another victory. Countless on his list already, but I think he wants to make amends for missing out on the championship last season. Danny Cervantes with a great run up to second place, and Thomas Sink recovering from a poor pit stop at the last stop to finish third. Josh Conker mysteriously winding up in fourth. You have Colton Lane getting a top 5 from 18th on the grid, and Austin Hunter winding up in sixth. Josh Bittner, wish we could have covered him a little bit more because he certainly had a heck of a climb too. 21st to 7th as Charles Sumner finished in 8th. Then it's John LaBaff in P9 and Abner Acosta just running out of steam at the end of this race and finishing 10th.
Doyle Lawrence had a quiet run in 11th today over Clayton Curry. Mark Kalin, after spending some time up front, comes home 13th. A nice recovery for him. Josh Daniels in 14th, and James Durr in 15th over Jake Blackhall. Kelly Cool, Jim Westerfield, Jess Vaught, and Dustin Smith completing the top 20.
21st went to CM Pennington with David Mayberry in 22nd and Curtis Young in 23rd. Last one on the lead lap was Daniel Ferguson in 24th. His gamble didn't pay off in the end, but it was a little bit out of his hands as he got turned around at one point. And you got Nick Hunter in 25th, Danik Momi in at 26th and Baron Hilton in 27th. From there on down, it was all DNFs, amazingly. So many drivers that did not get to see the checkered flag today, but Bradley Holly did. He was the first one to see that checkered flag. Brad, you missed out on the championship last season by very few points, but it seems like you're already in charge mode trying to make up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a couple bad races last season, and this season I'm gonna try to keep that as much as I can, keep that from happening, and make it another close finish at the end of the season.
That last pit stop, the last caution, we all kind of were watching up here in the booth and debating: do you pit or do you not? And we're a bit back and forth on it. You decided to come in, and just about everybody came in with you. Were you nervous that maybe you'd get left hung out to dry, being the one leading the pack in?
No, just because of how important tires were. I mean, the fall off was 2 or 3 tenths, I think, every lap of fall off. So, I mean, by the time I think we were at 16 laps or something like that. I could be wrong. That the fall off was quite a bit compared to if we had fresh tires. I think John had 16 lap tires, and I mean the speed difference alone really showed on the first lap.
Absolutely did. It was strange because in the first split set of pit stops, saw a bunch of drivers elect to take tires and not really make great inroads through the fields. Regardless, you've got one of the more difficult ones out of the way, off to Chicagoland next. Are you looking forward to that one?
Oh yeah, I love Chicago. With what way iRacing changed the surface and makes it multi-groove, it should be a lot of fun next week.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that lucky shirt coming back, and we'll hopefully get to talk to you in a week's time.
Thank you very much.
And that new American flag lucky shirt, that was our winner, Bradley Holly. And up next in second, representing the post office, Danny Cervantes, talking to Chris Phoebe.
Well, Danny, in that post office truck, you definitely delivered today a solid second place finish. It seems like from the end of last season into this season, you've really found another gear.
I want to say from last season, because Iowa had a terrible run with my right front tire, but definitely I had a good run on Sunday in the Cup Series, and I'm having a good run here, so hopefully we can keep it going forward.
Now, we definitely had some tough challenges there in the closing laps of that race. Tell us about that last little green flag run we had there in those closing 10 laps.
So with the last 10 laps, I was trying to get around Josh Conker, and then once I got around him, I figured out why I was losing time to Bradley Holly was to find out he had right front damage. So, but still, it was still hard to make a pass. I had to, if I was going deep into one, he'd get to run to the outside. So I tried to do a crossover move, but then the caution came out.
Well, Danny, we head to Chicagoland next week. Do you think you can keep the momentum rolling for you?
Definitely. Chicagoland is one of my better tracks. I tend to have run my better races there. I think we went there season 2 and had a pretty good race, and I think we also went there season 1, if I remember correctly. I had a pretty decent race there till I got in an accident.
All right, Danny. Anybody you want to thank that helped make tonight possible for you?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the guys over at Waterback for helping me develop as a driver. They brought me on earlier in the year. Especially, I'd like to give a big shout out to PRL for holding on this great series that we have, and all of their sponsors, Ninja Trader, and I can't remember all of them exactly, but yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Danny. Congratulations again on a good run. Back up to you, Joe.
Yeah, that brings us to Thomas Sink, who got third place today. And I imagine that feels a bit like a win. That last pit stop kind of went awry, and you wound up in 8th on the restart. How in the world did you manage to get through that many cars at the sharp end of the field that quickly?
Can I say luck? Yeah, I missed that pit, and I was like, well, there goes top 5. And then I pulled out, and I think it was like the 33 truck, and then some other truck that was really slow or in front of me. I'm like, oh man, this is a rough one. So when I came out and I started getting back up there, I was kind of like relieved. I got super lucky on that.
Certainly, and that is one impressive run to get yourself onto the podium at the very end. A lot of cautions at the start. How do you manage that with only those 3 sets of tires that you can put on after your initial set? It's got to be a little nerve-wracking trying to figure out when is the right time to put fresh boots on.
Yeah, it's kind of, so I have to say, I didn't really have much decision making on the pit stops. It was a team effort. You know, the guys, we talked about it, and we knew that we were going to be at a certain pace after a few laps. So that kind of let them make the call. And it you know what, it kind of reminds me of the old tire model where you basically wanted to pit every single time just to get tires.
Obviously not quite doable with this many cautions out there, but you managed it well. It got you into podium. What's your goal ultimately this season, having nabbed a top 5 in the points last season?
Same. I mean, just trying to stay out of the chaos, try not to get collected in anything, trying to cause anything, collect top 10s and see where I am with a couple of races left to go.
Well, congratulations on the podium. Anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my girlfriend for supporting me and being there, and her family, doing the same, watching every weekend and make sure I'm well fed. Thank my parents, who are also probably maybe watching. Thank Brad for putting in the time in the practice. You guys, of course, for putting on a great broadcast. PRL for hosting a phenomenal league. And I want to say congratulations to Danny. He got his second place there, and he really earned it tonight.
As a very grateful Thomas Sink taking third home and asking the questions we all want to know, which is those headphones. It is Chris Phoebe talking to Austin Hunter.
Austin, those are like the coolest headphones I think we've ever seen. Tell us about them, please.
They're their Logitech brand. I got them for a Christmas present this last year. They're pretty solid. They got really good sound. Microphone could be a little better, but Logitech G733s are pretty good.
Was that legitimately your throttle mapped to the lights on your display there?
Actually, I don't know. You would have to tell me. I've never noticed that before. If it is, that's awesome.
In the booth, you'd come off the corner and they'd light up green, and then when you let off to go into the corner, the lights would go out.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch the replay, because if that's true, that's fantastic.
Well, we'll consider that an endorsement of that fine Logitech product. Thanks for joining us, Austin.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great night.
That is even more wild. I thought for sure he would have known that was going on, but I'm sure he'll really get a giggle out of our reactions as we get to see that for the first time as well. But we're going to close out with a big thank you to our sponsors, which includes Simulation Motorsports Affinity. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And NinjaTrader. Get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance at ninjatrader.com, as well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. We're also sponsored by Advanced Sim Racing. Their cockpits are available at advancedsimracing.com if you want to check out more of them. And finally, RaceLab. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. Finally, a big thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen, try to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Chris, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media. It's listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store, simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe while you're down there, because you don't want to miss a moment, including next week at Chicagoland. That'll be Wednesday, June 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.